Very excited about it. As you just heard, we're going to be recording it. So for those of your colleagues that may have not been able to attend it, we're going to have it available. It's going to be a very, very good program. Before we begin, I just wanted to thank you, Egon. This is a joint production of the Kopka, Pincus, and Dolan DE&I Committee and the Amerishore DE&I Committee, and we worked well together, and I'm so excited about the fact that it is our DE&I committees that are making these things happen. Aren't you, Egon?
Absolutely, Bob, absolutely. And like you said, when you're ready to kick off the program, we'll both say a few words in regards to that. Absolutely.
So that's nice. And Greg, I'm certainly going to mention the honor that was bestowed upon you just this past weekend. Just tell everybody about it real quickly.
Well, thank you, Bob. This past weekend, I think it was Friday, June the 16th, I had the pleasure, I should say, being the first person to be asked to raise the Juneteenth flag in Dallas, Texas. So the first time in history, June the 16th, the Juneteenth flag was officially raised at City Hall, downtown Dallas. And so I was humbled and honored that they asked me to do the honors. And so that was a historical moment. And again, just glad to be a part of that and to be recognized for helping Juneteenth and helping people become educated about Juneteenth as well. So great honor.
And Egon, as a Dallas resident, you attended.
Yes, I had the pleasure of witnessing it and to see history in the making, and to me it was very moving. And not to say what Greg just said, it was an honor, and just to recognize that Dallas is now recognizing Juneteenth and taking the time out to have that ceremony was tremendous. And once again, having Greg as the honoree to do that was awesome.
Awesome. Greg, also, I actually watched the program, and I loved what you said. You know, you identified so many different accomplishments of African Americans in the 150 years from the time of Juneteenth until today.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Well, it is time to start. So I want to welcome everybody to our program on Juneteenth. And as you may have heard or overheard, my co-presenters are Egon Brown of Amerishore Insurance Company and Greg Ellis, who is going to be our guide for this hour. Greg Ellis, a former football player, played for the Dallas Cowboys for, I think, 11 years and was in the NFL for 12 years, a Pro Bowler. I think, Greg, getting to know you, that the most appropriate honor was Comeback Player of the Year, because you really do reinvent yourself over and over again. Greg Ellis is a playwright, a producer of content, focusing not only on African American history, but a number of different plays and productions on African American history, including more than one production regarding Juneteenth. And this program is going to be principally watching some of Greg Ellis's programming and listening to Greg. And first, I'm going to turn it over to Egon Brown, my colleague at the Amerishore DE&I Committee, and make a comment. And then I'll introduce how the program is going to work, everybody, because it really is going to be interactive in a kind of a unique way with the chat box. So I'll explain that in a moment. But first, let me just turn it over to you, Egon, for some opening remarks.
Thank you, Bob. And greetings to all our friends, colleagues, partners, and allies who have joined us today. As Bob mentioned, I am Egon Brown, Corporate Litigation and Vendor Manager for Amerishore. We are here, of course, to celebrate Juneteenth. So on behalf of the panel today, Amerishore Insurance, the panel sponsor, and the various constituents who have contributed ideas and motivation behind the scenes, I'd like to thank you all for choosing to be with us. Thank you for your interest, your efforts, and open hearts and mind in celebrating this and other Amerishore DE&I initiative that we hope will make our organization, our workforce, our community, and country better. Welcome to our celebration. Welcome to this conversation. With Juneteenth now being recognized as an official national holiday, we cherish this opportunity to celebrate the end of our U.S. government tragically supporting the enslavement of Black men, women, and children for over a century. And at the same time, we cherish this time to honor and celebrate the thousands, perhaps millions, who've made unthinkable sacrifices along the way for others around them and the millions that would follow them. To be sure, Juneteenth provides us the perfect opportunity to intentionally renew our commitment to the long-standing pursuit of the liberty and justice for all that was promised to us as Americans. It remains true that, as a nation, we have significant work to do to wash away the stains of our country's unfortunate history and to rid ourselves of the ever-present anti-bigotry and discriminatory practices seen in areas such as healthcare, housing, education, employment, law enforcement, criminal prosecution, and sentencing, voting laws, and many other structural forms throughout our society. In celebrating this special day each year, we hope to expand and deepen the enlightenment of the struggle, recruitment, and engage new allies, and energize the population of true believers amongst us to continue their movement in the direction of activism and change. For those of us who are urgent change are simply seeking diversity, equity, and inclusion in all manner of American life without exception. So with that, I yield back to Bob and our panelists. We hope you find this presentation informative and inspiring. It's our honor and pleasure to be here with you. Welcome, everybody. Bob?
Thank you, Egon, and thank you to AmeriSure's DE&I committee. And thank you also to Kapka-Pincus Dolan's DE&I committee, because I think I want to echo everything that Egon said, and the solution here is to be active. And our DE&I committees are active. If you have one in your organization, get active. If you don't have one in your organization, create one. Greg Ellis was on a panel with us last year and is an expert on a topic here that we're all going to learn from. And so what we're going to do is we're going to watch portions of a program that Greg Ellis put together, a stage play that really explains and depicts the events of Juneteenth. Greg is going to intermittently kind of explain what's going on, and we're going to learn a lot about Juneteenth. We want this to be interactive in this regard. We have the chat function, and those of you that joined early saw Erica Dahl from my office, who is also on the screen behind the KPD logo. There she is. And she's going to be watching and reading and taking notes on everybody's chats. So go ahead, as Randy Moore did just now, Rodney Moore did just now, and chat. And as we watch it, I want you please to feel free to share your experiences on Juneteenth if you had some experiences on Juneteenth. Ask questions or make comments about what we're watching. Mr. Ellis will be watching and looking at the comments. And when the program is over, then Erica and Greg will have a conversation in which they will respond to and comment on some of the chats that come up. So keep those chats coming all throughout the presentation. The presentation itself is about 35 minutes. Let me turn it over to you, Mr. Ellis, for a couple of introductory remarks, and then we can get right into the program. Thank you for joining us, Greg.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Bob. I'll be real brief so we can get to it. I know time is precious for everyone and limited. But one of the biggest questions that I often get asked, how and why does a retired football player end up doing stage production work, and especially of this sort? Me personally, the answer that I give them is that I enjoy helping people. And one of the best ways to help people is to help people and provide opportunities for people to become educated by specific topics and to become enlightened by specific topics, if you would. And so one of the best ways to do that, in my opinion, is through entertainment. And so if I can entertain you, have a better chance of holding your attention, not just me, but anybody. Once you are entertained, you tend to remember the information that's set forth before you. And Juneteenth is obviously a very important tradition that's building and gaining more momentum each and every year. And so I'm so glad that it's finally a national federal holiday But it's important that we don't allow it to be watered down, that we make sure we continue to educate people how Juneteenth actually came into existence and the importance behind it as well. So I can talk forever about it, but like I said, Bob has a presentation that we collaborated on, and so I want to go ahead and get to that. And we'll have questions at the end from your chat.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Looking forward. Let's take a look at it.
Greetings. My name is Greg Ellis, and I want to share a presentation about Juneteenth with you today. Thank you for joining us in understanding the importance of Juneteenth. We will show you about 10 different scenes from the play, and I'm going to interject each time to just kind of keep you up to date with what's going on in that particular scene. First of all, I think it's important to understand that Juneteenth is the 2.5 years that Texas continued to practice slavery. The next thing I want you to understand, just a quick synopsis of this particular play. You won't see the whole play, but again, about 10 different scenes from the play. We really focus on a slave family and how they probably lived those 2.5 years before freedom made it to Texas. So with no further ado, here we go.
Okay, Talia, are you ready to go?
Go? Go where? I thought you were going to tell me a story.
I am, but you have to walk with me in order to get the full effect.
Okay. Okay, what just happened? Where are we?
We are in a new land.
Okay, look, my dad told me the last time a white person told a black person they were going to a new land, it didn't work out so well.
It's okay, you can trust me. You're family, remember?
Okay.
We are in Galveston, Texas. The year is 1863. President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation was created to end slavery in the southern states, and it was just being enforced. Here we go.
Lord, I was tired of working for Master. Eat when he say eat. Sleep when he say sleep. Take up with whoever he say take up with. Good Lord, I can't wait till the day you call us home, because I know we ain't supposed to be doing this here.
You right, son.
Mama, I didn't see you there.
I was just passing by and heard you talking. I'm sorry.
I just tired, Mama.
We's all tired, son. And you're right. I just don't think the good Lord wanted this for nobody. And I just don't care what Master try and teach us either.
We people just like them. Forcing themselves on all women and all sorts of things. I know that ain't in the good book, Mama.
That's true, baby. That's true.
Why they treat us like this?
I wish I knew, son. Now, have you had any more of them vision dreams lately?
Yeah, and I was tired of them too. You know, sometimes I feel like it's punishment, but think about freedom all the time.
No, son. Don't think that way. Now, there's a story in the good book about a man named Joseph. And everybody thought he was crazy and he was lying. Even his own peoples tried to hurt him. But all his vision dreams came true. Now, don't lose faith. So go on and tell me about your vision dreams.
All right, I can only tell you one part though.
One part.
The other parts are for tip his ears only.
Whatever.
Well, in this vision dream, I saw a master in line with rows of pigs. Tried to break through, and there's a dog behind me. I tried with everything I could, but I couldn't break through the line. Next thing you know, the dog was in front of me and broke through the line. Does it make any sense?
Not quite sure what that means, but the good Lord will let us know sooner or later. Okay, I got to get on back to doing my chores, baby.
All
so
right.
you just go on back to what you was doing. And
All right, Mama.
I'll talk with you later. All right. he about his smokehouse?
Putting in scratch for later.
Master asked him how much longer for the hogs ready.
Soon. He'll be ready soon.
Why you got them pig feet sitting in the pile all by themselves?
Oh, well, them for us.
Master said him, Captain?
He don't know about it.
You know he gonna find out.
Yeah, well, till he do them for us. The other night, good Lord gave me a bad vision dream.
And what was it?
About me and you. In our own place. With our youngins running around. We was free.
And what's wrong with that? You love me, don't you?
Yeah, but I don't want Master to say we can marry and never let us be together.
Oh, my love. Don't worry about that. I don't know how or when, but the good Lord will let us be together.
Yeah, and the good Lord know exactly what he's doing by keeping us apart.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, if Master find out that I love you more than I love myself, they try to use that against me to break my mind. What's wrong? Don't cry. We just can't lose faith.
I was just tired of Master having his way with me whenever he takes a liking.
Now you listen here. Master may take your body, but he will never take your heart or your mind. You understand?
Yes.
I'm sorry to bother you, but you reckon I can have a drink of water? I've come a mighty long way. How you doing?
Good, it's hot out there, ain't it?
Sure is. It is.
some water.
Thank you, baby. Woo, that's it. Oh, excuse me, how y'all's doing today?
We fine. How can we help you?
I was just a free woman here to spread the word that freedom has come for all slaves.
What you mean free?
Well, it's the truth. I suppose word ain't made it to y'all yet. Listen, baby, freedom has come. Y'all, please help me spread the word. I got to keep moving. Got to tell the others. Freedom, son. Ooh. Freedom. Lord, Lord, freedom.
Do you believe it?
If we free, then how come don't nobody know about it?
Well, I'm going to ask Master.
Oh, you would do no such thing. He have you whipped.
Maybe, but I still want to know if he's free or not.
Then I'll ask him.
He may kill you.
You right. But if we free, means I can take up with you. That's worth dying for. Tippy, I was in love with you. But Master say, I can't be.
Your lips so soft, your eyes just right. I want to be with you for the rest of my life. Oh God, please help me to see how I can be in love when Master said I can't be.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that last scene. Now, the next scene we are about to see, it will cover how Texas justified continuing to practice slavery for the additional 2.5 years. What loopholes did they find in the existing system that allow them to justify keeping slavery in force for an additional 2.5 years? So here we go.
You know how many times we have to tell them the Republic of Texas has its own law? Why do they keep sending word down here for us to free our slaves?
Well, you know, we ain't gonna do it. We got too much cotton that needs picking, and I sure ain't the one that'll be picking it. Why can't they just leave us alone?
Afternoon, gentlemen. Oh, afternoon. How's it going? You heard? They're trying to make us set our slaves free again.
One of my slave boys asked me about that. He said a free black gal came through the plantation, told him about it. Told him it was nonsense.
That stupid Emancipation Proclamation. We don't find that old black gal and burn her alive.
Hey, I just invested good money on a new batch of slaves to double my production this year. And they want me to give all that up? My family is starved if I have to free my slaves. I ain't giving up nothing. The government gonna buy them from it.
All right, welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that last scene. The scene we're about to see next, we're going to share with you information about how slave masters used the love and the emotions that slaves had for each other to manipulate the slaves and to control them. Henry, the character that you have seen in this play, he falls in love with one of the slave girls, but the master uses that to control him. So here we go.
Hey, wait a minute. Hang on. You best keep making them pig feet the way you've been making them. I know your kind. You mess up just to spite me.
Oh, Master? No. Can I ask you something, Master?
What is it, boy?
I'd like to marry Tippy.
You know she's one of my special slave girls. And you know she's got a baby in that belly.
Yeah, I know. I still love her. She's very special. And I've heard a man works a lot better if he's happily married.
You trying to blackmail me, boy?
Oh, so, Master. I just figured those pig feet would taste mighty fine if I was happily married.
Okay. Only reason I'm letting you marry is because I need you at your best when you're making my pig feet. You best not forget what happened to Tippy. You mess this up for me, she won't be so lucky next time. Neither will you.
Yes, sir, Master. From this day forward, I expect the best pig feet you ever tasted. You won't be sorry.
You better.
All right, I'm back again. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the last scene. Now, the next scene we're about to see, we're going to learn the first time this particular group of slaves realized that they were actually supposed to be free. A lot of people wonder, why did it take so long? Several different reasons to that question. One is that they didn't have a lot of Union soldiers present in the South, and especially Texas. So the word from Washington obviously took longer to get here. Just that simple. But again, hope you enjoy this next scene.
Have y'all seen Henry? I can't find him nowhere.
I think he went down to Jolie place to get another batch of pig feet.
Ooh, well, I'll just wait right here till he gets back then.
All right. Boy, what's wrong with you?
We free!
We free! What you talking about?
Boy, you done fell and bumped your head.
I'm telling you, we free!
Henry.
Y'all don't believe me?
No, Henry. We ain't free no time soon. Leave that alone now. The better off we'll be if you just leave that alone.
Listen to me. We free!
Henry, I'm sure we ain't free no time soon. Master just brought a whole new batch of slaves.
He sure did. That's what's right.
You best leave that alone, Henry. Ain't no good gonna come from it.
Baby, where'd you hear this from?
Well, Mr. Jolie took me down to the town.
Uh-huh.
And we saw all these people gathered around.
Yeah.
So we went to go see what was going on. And there was this white man right there on the balcony.
Right there.
He pulled out this piece of paper and he read, "All slaves are free."
What you say? We
Free.
Oh, we free. Thank you, Lord. Oh, we free, baby. We free. You show us. You show us.
Jesus.
I guess Texas didn't think they had to follow the Emancipation Proclamation like everyone else.
In 1836, the Constitution of the Republic of Texas made slavery legal. The general provision of the Constitution forbid any slave owner from freeing his slaves without the consent of Congress, and forbid Congress from making any laws that restricted slave trade or emancipated slaves. To be honest, none of the Confederate states wanted to comply to free their slaves. Texas held out the longest because of that law.
So basically, Texas was enjoying all the money from slavery so much, they decided to play by their own rules.
Yes.
Is Juneteenth only a Texas thing?
There weren't a lot of Union soldiers in Texas, so other states brought their slaves here to avoid freeing them. This is where they gained their freedom, but many of them left to go back to be reunited with their loved ones. So, Juneteenth is actually celebrated everywhere, even in Tokyo.
All this time, and I thought the Emancipation Proclamation freed all the slaves.
No, it was only sent as a mandate to those states who were not part of the Union to free their slaves, as a punishment for refusing to join the Union.
Really?
You see, President Abraham Lincoln's goal was to unify all of the states under one government, not to free slaves. President Lincoln has been quoted saying, "If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all slaves, I would do it."
So how did Texas finally free their slaves?
Let's find out.
Thank you, Lord. Bless your name.
All right, again, welcome back. The next scene we're about to see is going to educate you about the gentleman who actually, I should say the general who actually brought the word that freedom was here in Texas. His name is General Gordon Granger. But another interesting fact, when freedom did make it to the slaves, this particular group of slaves, you will realize that that presented a whole different group and set of problems, because you got to think about when slaves were set free, exactly where were they going to go? They didn't own land. They didn't own anything. How are they going to eat? A whole list of problems presented themselves because freedom came. Here we go.
I'm General Gordon Granger, the U.S. Army. Who's in charge here?
That white man right there.
It's my plantation. What can I do for you?
Sir, are you aware of President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation?
Yes, sir, I am. But I am my own man. And I believe in keeping the order that the good Lord put in place. And that is the white people are the masters. The darkies are the slaves.
Well, that is your view. You are entitled to it. But unless you want to have a hole in your head, you may want to put that whip down.
Bang, bang, shoot him up. Shoot him up.
General, you seem to have forgotten that there's a difference between a black man and a white man.
The way I see it, you may have forgotten or chose to ignore the good book. Nowhere in it does it say people should be enslaved involuntarily.
Well, no.
I've already declared this day, June 19th, 1865, Texas, a free state.
Woo! Yes, Lord. Oh, God.
You people are free to go.
Yeah.
You gonna let these niggas go?
Boy, if you don't sit down somewhere.
You do know that you are not a white man, right?
General, all this free talk sound real good, sure sound nice. But does that mean we can leave this in plantation?
Yes.
Then how's we gonna have a roof over our head? How's we gonna eat?
We's gonna leave here with hope.
That's right.
Hope. General, do you have some place for us to go or somewhere to teach us how to manage in this white man world?
Well, there are people up north that are helping other freedmen and women learn how to read.
And how is that gonna help us?
Well, we've decided
Hundreds of years. You, and all the rest of them, they taught us how to be slaves. And now we're free? We don't know how. What's we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
hope. Hope ain't gonna keep us fed. I was gonna stay right here on this here plantation.
Well, I can tell you one thing.
I'm not gonna stay right here on this here's plantation.
That's right.
No more eagle chick.
No more.
I'ma be an eagle now.
That's right, Tim.
Well, gone, Eagle.
Fly. Fly.
Oh, what's on up?
Massa? 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 Can I stay here with you? Absolutely, you can stay here, boy. You'll eat good while they starve to death. Well, go on if you're going. Elizabeth, you think you're going? You gonna turn your back on your people?
Yes, I am.
I knew you was taking up with him.
Wait a minute now.
Well, it's best you go ahead and move along with him then. You are no longer my daughter. I refuse to claim as family anyone who's had relations with darkies.
Well, I guess you ain't claiming yourself then,
Oh,
because
now.
every slave on this plantation knows you've been having relations with these poor slave women
Ooh,
for
say that
years.
again. Say it, yes, ma'am.
And now Mother knows too. This day, I pledge the rest of my life.
There she go with that touch.
I'm so sorry. This day, I pledge the rest of my life to help undo the physical and mental and sexual abuse you've inflicted on these people for centuries.
That's
It will
right.
help them become what the good Lord means them to be. Strong black eagles.
Yes, Lord. Yes.
You know, one of the greatest things the good Lord gave us was hope. Mama told me, good book is filled with hope. But you tried to take that away from us.
That's right.
We have it back now.
All right, greetings again. Welcome back. Now, this next scene that you're about to see, we're going to shed some light on did newly freed slaves or people who were slaves fight in the war against North and South. I should say between North and South. So people often wonder, did slaves help fight for their freedom? Well, troops were running low, and a lot of the morale was low for the Northern troops. They felt, okay, we really don't have a reason to be sacrificing our lives. But slaves and newly freed slaves obviously had something serious to fight for. And so when they engaged in the war, tides definitely shift. So let's go see the next scene and see exactly how did it go down.
That was a great story. I just have one question.
What's that, dear?
How do you know it so well? It's almost like you lived it yourself.
People tell me that every time I tell it. You see, Elizabeth is my great-great-grandmother.
I thought so.
And Henry is your great-great-great-grandfather. Every year we both meet up on this day to eat some of Grandpa Henry's famous pig's feet and ham hocks.
You want to know one thing I loved about the story?
What's that?
How God wanted us all to be equals.
That's right, no matter your color or gender.
So, did any of the slaves join the Union to help fight?
Actually, the war had finally ended. But as far as the freedmen who did join, President Lincoln credits them for helping the Union turn the tide and overpower the Confederate Army.
You know, I have a new sense of pride and obligation for my God-given rights because my ancestors gave their lives for me to have freedom.
All right, again, welcome back. The next scene that we're going to see, we're going to shed some light on the word that I actually created for the play. It's called Eagle Chick. It's the making of a slave. And you can just kind of imagine the word itself. Slaves were no different than any other group of people. They were meant to be strong people, like everybody on this earth is meant to be a strong, intelligent person. Slaves were not exempt from that. So when you think about it, all people were created to be strong eagles, in my opinion. But the process of creating a slave involved tricking African American people to think they were less than those eagles, to get them to think like chickens and live like chickens instead of living like the eagles that God made us to be. So let's get to the next scene and let's see and have an understanding of what the word eagle chick actually means.
Eagle chick.
Eagle what?
Eagle chick.
What's an eagle chick?
The truth is, the good Lord made all people to be like eagles. Oh, they are smart, strong. They never surrender to the size and strength of their prey. They are fearless, have powerful vision. They only seek out and eat fresh prey. A chicken, on the other hand, why, it's satisfied with whatever you give it to eat, and it never leaves the yard. That's the reason you can leave them, don't ever tie them up. Let them run free, because it's their natural behavior to be content. So in order for our economic system to work and to maintain our way of life, we need eagle chicks.
All right, welcome back. Now, the next scene that you're going to see is actually not a scene from the play, but it provides a good example of what slave masters' goal was and how they figured they could create a slave, if you would. And so if you take a chicken and you hold a chicken and you draw a line in the dirt and force that chicken to look at that line that you drew in the dirt, you can take your hands off of that chicken and that chicken will not move. The chicken becomes really in a hypnotic state, focusing on that line and not paying attention to what's going on around him. It's not until you erase that line that the chicken snaps out of that hypnotic state. I compare that to slavery. I compare it because it's like the slave masters forced slaves to look at a skewed line of success that they drew and created and told them to focus on this line. And when slaves begin to focus on that line, it's like they enter into a hypnotic trance, if you would. And that's the goal that slave masters had in creating the perfect slave, if you would. And so it's not until that line is erased that African American slaves snapped out of that hypnotic state. So you have a better understanding once you see it. So here we go.
This is Kevin, my neighbor, and he told me that they know how to hypnotize a rooster. Ready? So you hold him like this. Watch Tooster's body. Watch this. Watch his body. Oh my gosh. Watch. He's totally fixated on the line. Watch. He's asleep. This is just like when they're roosting. How long will he stay like that?
A few minutes. Sometimes they'll stand up and stare at it and then lay down on the
If we erase the line, will he wake up?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Is he gonna peck me? Oh my gosh, if you erase the...
All right, again, welcome back. The next scene that we're going to look at, we're going to shed light on how the masters used worthless materialistic things that they may have found on the ground, but they told the slaves that it had value. They told slaves that if you had this particular, let's say, scarf, for an example, if you get this scarf, then you're the most important slave on this plantations. And so they used those worthless materialistic things to pit slaves against each other, to keep them fighting with each other instead of trusting each other. In my mind, in my opinion, I should say, that started the systemic racial system that still exists to this day, in my opinion. So let's get to the next scene.
Make me mad. It's not that hard. The field isn't that big. What'd you say, Ozell?
Oh, shit. No, shit. We ain't speaking. She said we ain't speaking, man. That's all she was saying.
All right, then. Thought so. Y'all need to work this field faster. Ain't that hard?
Yes, sir, master. Yes, sir, master.
Now, what's taking so long? All right, listen up. Listen up, I said.
Oh, yes, master. Yes, sir.
Whoever picks the most cotton today, I'm going to reward them by giving them this nice, pretty scarf. Now, this scarf means something, so you best do whatever it takes.
Oh, I was going to get that scarf. This is crazy. I'll kill you before you do.
That's the spirit. Now we'll weigh it in the morning, and whoever picks the most cotton to be the big man or woman on the plantation.
Ain't none of y'all gonna pick more cotton than me. I was gonna get that scarf. I'll kill your dad before you do. I'll kill your dad before you do. Y'all hear me? That scarf is mine.
Darcy, do you hear yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You gonna kill somebody and work your fingers down to the bone over a piece of fabric.
Woman, hush your mouth.
All right.
Y'all know what it's like to have hope for nothing other than picking cotton. When I get that scarf, I'll be somebody to master.
You think we men are the only ones looking for a reason to live? Other than just pick cotton for massa?
Henry, what you talking about? Huh? Huh? You just saying all that in front of Tippy because you wants to laze up with her. But let me tell you something, just in case you did not know. Tippy there, she belongs to Master. And she has to open up whenever he takes a liking.
I'm sick of you, Doc.
If Massa could take a piece of fabric and put it in front of our faces, and we's willing to kill each other over it, we's always gonna be eating out of Massa's hands. We's gotta show our youngest something different.
That's right, baby.
Henry, hush. Like I said, that scarf is mine. We's gonna see about that. I'm gonna pick one of you.
All right, let's get started.
Let's go first, Master, because I know I picked the most cotton.
£223. Good job, Sambo. All right. Hey, who wants to be next? £120. That's fine, considering how you've been taking care of other things for me. Henry, go and get yours up there.
I hope he ain't got a lot. He the biggest one on this plantation.
Yeah, that's a big boy year.
I hope he ain't got more. Come on, let's see what he got. Let's see.
Hush your mouth, boy.
You mean to tell me you only picked 155 pounds?
As big as he is.
The good Lord ain't pleased with you, and neither am I. But forget what we talked about. Get that down off of him. Darcy, your last one.
Oh, that laughing. Let's see what you got, boy.
My back hurt.
That's right, baby.
Come on, get me out. See, that's why they call the young. They strong. Come on.
That's right, baby. Get all the way up in there. Get on up in there. Watch your feet. That's right.
You got it.
That little girl.
She got it.
232 pounds.
All right,
Good
Darcy.
job, Darcy.
All right, then, now.
You have picked the most cotton out of all the slaves on the plantation. Here's your scarf. You are now the big man on the plantation.
Who the man?
All right, Darcy.
I'll take that scarf anytime I want to.
go sit
I'd like
down.
to see you do it.
Look at that old fool.
Come here, Elizabeth. You see how easy that was? All I did was convince them that their value was tied to whoever had that scarf. You see, in order for our economy to work, the eagle chicks have to place their value on whatever worthless material things we create. They will always fight against each other to have everything we set in front of them. This is how we keep meeting out of our hands. Look at them, ready to kill each other over a piece of worthless fabric that I found on the ground. Well, you stay here and enjoy the entertainment. I got to go relieve myself.
Hey! Who's the big man now, huh? Who's the big man now? Give me my scarf, Sambo. I ain't playing with you. Give me my scarf. I show Master you ain't nothing. Nothing. I kills you, Sambo. I kills you, Sambo.
What is y'all doing?
Henry, I'ma kill Sambo. He got my scarf.
You was willing to kill each other over a worthless piece of cloth?
I sure am.
You think Master gave you because it had a value? I just took cotton out of my bag so Master won't use a piece of fabric to have power over me.
Henry, you just jealous. All y'all just jealous. Cause I was the big man on the plantation. Was. Give me my scarf, Sambo. Give me my scarf. Hey.
Now, come on, y'all. That's crazy. Break time, y'all. Come on, let's go.
All right, again, welcome back. All right, as we enter into our last scene, this particular scene sheds light on what it was like for people to interracial date, if you would. I wouldn't necessarily call it dating, but I would say this. For the masters, the male masters, it was accepted for them to have sexual relationship with the slave women. But in this particular scene, you're going to kind of see that reverse some. But understand, it was never accepted for a white female to want to enter into any kind of romantic relationship with a slave man. This particular one, you'll see the fear that comes out from Henry's mother when she finds out that the white daughter of the slave master is romantically attracted to her son. So here we go.
Every time I see you, I can't control myself. My heart jumps out of my chest. My palms get all sweaty. How can someone I've never even touched have so much power over my body? Watching you work brings me more joy than I care to admit. The sweat falling off your brown skin. I pray the good Lord doesn't punish me, because I know the way I feel about Henry ain't right, but how can I help it? I can't.
Miss Elizabeth, you all right?
Yes, I'm fine. How long have you been standing there?
Long enough to know that we've got trouble.
Ozell, I want to ask you something. No harm will come to you, so you can answer the question honestly.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you think about me taking up with your son?
What you say?
Oh,
I scared.
Don't be. No harm will come to you. I promise.
I's not scared of what's gonna happen to me. I'm scared of what's gonna happen to my boy when Massa find out you wanna take up with him.
Oh, I give you my word I won't say anything to my father.
I understand why you take a liking to my boy. He ain't like all these other men around him. Eagle chicks and eating out of Massa's hand. Massa hadn't taken his manhood. The good Lord kept my boy strong, even when Massa beat him near death. It's that inner strength that you're falling in love with.
Well, it's more than that.
You can have me and any other slave on this here plantation to do whatever you say do. Now, I thank you a kind and decent person, and I thank you for your kindness.
Of course.
Ain't no white man want to take up with no slave gal, except just to have his way with her. And you, on the other hand, you can have any white man in this here county, but you want the only black man on this here plantation, the good black man. And that just ain't right. Nobody knows trouble I've seen. Nobody knows
Hallelujah. The trouble I've seen, nobody knows my sorrow. Oh no, nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Hallelujah. Nobody knows but the good Lord.
All right, again, welcome back. As we conclude, I want to thank you for taking your time to join us, and I pray that you enjoyed this short presentation of our Juneteenth play. Trust that you are enjoying the fact that Juneteenth is now a national holiday, and thank many of you for supporting that. I also want to say and share this one last bit of information about slavery, period. I think it's important to understand that the system of slavery has been around for years, but there has never been a system that has been quite like slavery here in America. When I say that, because America slaves had or is the only group of slaves that when they were set free in the land and the system that was created by the people who had them enslaved, meaning the enslaver created the system to benefit themselves. But when they released a group of people, which were slaves, African American slaves, they were released into that system. That system wasn't created to benefit those newly freed slave people. It was created by the enslaver to benefit the enslaver. And so that made it hard, in my opinion. That made it more difficult than any other time period that the world chose to exercise slavery. Again, only group of people that were set free to figure it out in the system that was created by their enslaver. So again, thank you again for celebrating this Juneteenth with us.
Oh, did we lose Greg? There he is.
No.
That was great.
Go ahead, Eric. Eric, I just want to say, I thought that the comments indicated how well received the program was. Erica, were there some things that you wanted to ask or some ideas that maybe were presented in the comments that you want to post?
Yes. And to be mindful of everybody's time, I think the first thing I would like to mention, if someone wasn't following along in the chat, was Greg said that hopefully the whole play in its entirety will be available by Friday. And we can send a thank you to everybody that joined us today with the link to that so they can watch it. Again, just in case someone wasn't watching the chat and was too involved in the actual video. Charmaine had asked what people's thoughts were on Abbott signing the law shutting down diversity offices at public universities on Friday before Juneteenth.
Yeah. And I put something back in the chat, and I tell you, man, I wish we had 5 hours, Bob, to talk about this. But the dangers, I hope people saw it in the chat. The dangers of that is when you look back from the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, which are known as the Reconstruction Amendments, abolishing slavery, Voters Act, and the allowing Black people, allowing former slaves to be considered citizens. But the ruling, Supreme Court ruling, that ruled for separate but equal to come into play, pretty much allowed everybody to look over those 3 amendments. And so that reminds me of when we're talking about closing diversity offices and minimizing funds for diversity. You know, if we're not careful, we can go back down that same path that happened when separate but equal came into play. And it can set America back in a downward spiral, if you would, if we are not careful. Because I realize Governor Abbott, he doesn't mean any harm in not seeing sometimes the big picture. But when you do stuff like that, you think that people's hearts are all in the right place and they're going to do the right thing. oftentimes that doesn't happen. And again, that was proven back when the Supreme Court ruled to have things separate but equal. They were indeed separate, but they certainly were not equal.
Well said. I'd like to ask you to comment on something that you talked about. You and I talked a little bit earlier about the Jewish tradition of Passover, and in the Bible it says that when the Hebrews were finally set free, the Egyptians gave them gold and silver and things for their trip. And your point was this was the only slavery that you can think of in history in which the enslaved people were left to their own devices. And maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, and it's a lot, Bob, because when you look at it, people often wonder, okay, why when slaves were set free, why didn't everybody leave? Who would want to stay in the new slave system that ended up being called sharecropping? Why would they stay for that? Because again, you have to realize slaves didn't have anywhere to go. They didn't own anything. So leaving that plantation meant that life was going to be even harder versus being a slave. Now, you had your freedom, but did you really have your freedom? Because no matter where you went, former slave owners could still treat you however they wanted to treat you. But to answer your question directly, Bob, that's something that we all need to think about, right? To understand the people that created the system, if you would, they obviously created to benefit themselves as well as any civilization would if they're empowered to create something to benefit themselves. But so when you release slaves into that system, they are released into a system that was created to benefit the enslaver. And so now you release a group of enslaved people into that system. I mean, it was not fair, to say the least, if you would. But I cannot, as you said, Bob, think of another time in history, at least not in recorded history, and going back to biblical days, where enslaved people were set free into the system and into the land to figure out and to get on even playing grounds as the people that had them enslaved, other than slavery right here in America.
Right. And then you had separate but equal as the law of the land, to your point, for 100 years thereafter.
Exactly. And so again, it spiraled what they did with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, right? That gave a lot of progress in the right direction. But then all of a sudden, you got separate but equal comes into play. And again, if you put yourself back in those days, one could think, okay, well, it's okay if we're separate but equal, but not realizing how much equality do you really think you're going to get when slavery was over, but only maybe 50 years, right? So the people who enslaved African-American people still own the majority of everything in this country. So there was no way that equality was going to really take place in that bad decision that the Supreme Court made.
Yeah, the thing in the Brown decision is separate is inherently unequal.
Exactly. Yes.
So Greg, because I know we have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
I just want you to express to the audience why you have such a passion for this, because the man of your stature, the things that you have accomplished and things like that, the fact that you have taken time and dedicated yourself to do that. What is it that drives you in order for you to make sure you get others educated?
Well, again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning, to really help people. And even to make it personal with me with this particular topic, believe it or not, when I was born into sharecropping. My mom and dad, they sharecropped. They lived in a white man's house and they worked his land, which mainly my dad worked his land in exchange for rent. And when my dad decided to go get a job working for the city, working in the school systems, cleaning the school systems, that man named Dennis did not like it. And he told him that you guys have to move out of my house now. And so that is very near and dear to me. And so understand the unfair treatment, the unequal playing ground that former slaves were on. Again, released into a system that wasn't created to benefit them, says a lot. So I just want to make sure, as much as I can, I help educate people, at least provide an opportunity for people to be enlightened about this subject and to understand where a lot of systemic racial issues and problems that we still deal with today, where they come from.
And let me ask you something, Greg. How would you like Juneteenth to be celebrated as a national holiday?
You know what? I think we're on the right path, right? Again, but I will say this, Bob, is that, we do have to understand putting Juneteenth on a national, global scale, if you would, involves a lot of commercialization of it as well. It comes along with it. It's just like June 4th. It's just like, we don't call it June 4th, we call it 4th of July. It has its own special day, and people cook out and do all sorts of things for the 4th of July. So we have to realize that as we want it to be on this global scale, what comes along with that, the commercialization of it as well. But I think it's very important that we make sure that the historical moments of it do not go away. And so me doing things like this particular play, this play has been out, 5 or 6 years before Juneteenth became a national holiday. So I didn't do it because it became a national holiday. I did it because I felt like it needed to become a national holiday.
Well
Greg,
done.
do you see another play in your future?
I did one. It's not a full play yet. I did it as a audiobook, and it's called The Path to Juneteenth. And it showed, well, you hear it, you don't see it yet, but it tells about a story. Let's say Henry, in this particular play, he actually gets kidnapped by slave traders, and they capture him. They take him to Texas, where you can continue to practice slavery, sell him back into slavery. And then on 1865, the Juneteenth day, he gets released, and it's a crowd of him and other people, chanting and praising God because they get released from slavery. But his chant was different because he says, "Thank you, God, because I'm free for the second time." And so the story takes place as him and one of the other former slaves migrate back to Louisiana to reunite with their family. And so we tell that story. They're walking through swamp water, and with white masters looking for them. And so it's pretty intense. But so that may be the next one. But we got a lot of stuff up the sleeve, working on some mental health stuff as well. So yeah, it's a lot of good stuff. So stay tuned.
Outstanding work, Greg. Thank you very much for your dedication to the work that you do, to our friendship that has developed. Egon and Erica, thank you for your efforts, and to all of you, thank you for taking the time to watch. Happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Yes, happy Juneteenth. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.